All right, so let's go on with number 7 though. So what we were doing on these ones is we were using mainly substitution. So since y equals all this, I can substitute it in for y over there. So this becomes x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals negative x squared plus 1. So I substitute what y equals in one equation over to the other side. All right, now whenever I have an x squared, I want to get one side to 0. And I've been telling you guys, I always like my x squared to be positive. So in this case, I'm going to move everything over to the left-hand side. So I'm going to add x squared. And I'm going to subtract 1. So these cancel out on the right-hand side. This turns into 0. Now on the left-hand side, I have x squared plus x squared. Okay, we think of that as 1x squared plus 1x squared. So that's going to be 2x squared plus 2x, and then minus 4. All right, now I could do my x diamond factoring with this, but what's going to make it a lot easier actually, since these are all even numbers, you see how we have all even numbers there, we can do a GCF here before we do that. So I'm going to take a 2 out front and look at it like that, okay? X squared plus x minus 2. So anytime all your coefficients can divide by the same number, you can always do that. So now I can do my little diamond thing. But I can use my a times c now will just be negative 2. And my b will be positive 1 because I'm doing it on the inside here, okay? We're going to get the same answer either way, but it's just going to be smaller numbers if we do that first. Okay, so two numbers are multiplied to negative 2 and add to 1 would be positive 2 and negative 1. So I'm going to split up this middle term, 2x minus 1x. I'll do my grouping now. So I can take an x out of there, leaving x plus 2. The second group, I can take out a negative 1, leaving x plus 2. So I get x minus 1 times x plus 2 equals 0. Technically, I'm supposed to bring this 2 down here that I pulled out front. We're going to see that it's actually not relevant to the rest of the problem, though. All right, so I can say that x then equals 1 and x equals negative 2 for those two parentheses. Remember that always switches, right? If it's x minus 1, it would be 1. If it's x plus 2, it would be negative 2. Some of you guys might remember a few units ago, if we had like a 2x out front, that would mean that x equals 0. Or if we had like 2x squared out front, that would mean x equals 0. But if it's just a number out front, that does not give us an x value, okay? It's only if it's a number out front with the variable. All right, so now we're going to plug these in to whichever equation looks easier. I think the second equation looks a little bit easier, so I'll go ahead and plug it in there. So I get y equals negative parentheses 1 squared plus 1. Now I got to be really careful with that negative out front that negative is not inside the parentheses because I just plugged in a 1, correct? It's in front of the parentheses. And that's really important because of PEMDAS, because I got to square the 1 first and then make it negative, okay? So if I square 1, it's 1, and then times a negative is actually still -1. So this one is saying, when I plug in a 1 for x, I get out a 0 for y. All right, let me do my other one here. Do this one in blue. So y equals -2 squared plus 1. Now, once again, very important here, when I plug in that -2, I do so using parentheses. I'm actually not allowed to do minus to plus here with the, you see I have a -2, but I have an exponent, correct? So I cannot do minus to plus until I do my exponent. But actually, when I do my exponent, -2 squared is actually +4. So always be careful on that when you're plugging in a negative and squaring it, even if you have a negative out front. When you square it, it turns positive, and so that negative out front is going to turn it back negative. So this is actually going to be -3. All right. So we did happen to get, again, 2 solutions to this one. That's very common with these, but it's not always the case. If you look down at number 10 on this page, I think number 10, we only got 1 solution, right? Okay. We're going to do number 8 next, and I actually predict on number 8 we will get 1 solution again. How do I know that? I don't know. I'm literally a math genius, okay? I do this for a living. This is my job. All right, so let's take a look at number 8 then. So number 8, otra vez, vamos a substituir. No, that one. We're going to substitute. How do you say substitute in Espanol? I did say it right then. We're pretty close. All right, good job, Mr. Barry. So I'm going to put that in parentheses. We're going to substitute it over there. Okay, so we got x squareds on both sides. Whenever that happens, we want to get one side to 0, right? We want to move everything to one side. Now, I told you I always like to keep my x squared positive, but in this case, it's -x squared on both sides. So that kind of sucks. So, but check this out. When I add, so I'm going to add the x squareds. If I add x squared on each side, what happens to all of my x squareds? They actually go away. The x squareds actually cancel out. So that's pretty sweet, because that means we're not going to have to do our factoring in this one. We're not going to have to do our big X diamond factoring thing. We have no more x squared, okay? It also means we don't have to get one side to 0. All we have to do is just isolate x. That's what makes this one so much easier. So we add 4. Oops. Necesitamos sumar 4. Y por eso 4 negativo x es 8. We have to add 4. And so -4x equals 8. Divide by -4. And x equals -2. Only one x value for this one. Once again, that's because our x squared's canceled out, okay? Because when we have an x squared, most of the time we get 2 values, 2 answers. But when we don't have an x squared, we usually just get 1 answer, okay? We still, though, need to plug that x value in to get our y value. I can plug it into either equation. I think that the bottom equation looked a lot easier here. So I'm going to plug it in there. So we'll say y equals negative parentheses negative 2 squared plus 4. Once again, when we have this negative out front and then a negative number squared, we have to do PEMDAS. We have to do the exponent first. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Then we have that negative out front. So this is really negative 4 plus 4. So this is 0. And so my answer is the point negative 2, 0. Y por eso mi respuesta final es el punto 2 negativo, 0.